to the curve, where ideas take flight, blending tech.
All right, well, welcome to The Learning Curve. This is a podcast done by the Digital Learning Department at Region 7 Education Service Center in Kilgore, Texas. My name is Carl Moen, and I'm a digital learning specialist here at Region 7. I was once a history teacher and taught geography and world history, and I got to teach a project-based learning class called Humanities. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed my time in education, and I've since transitioned into instructional technology, and now I'm here doing digital learning, and it's been a lot of fun. And so that's what we're going to keep talking to you about is digital learning tools. So,
Hi, I'm Benjamin Wood. I'm the coordinator of digital learning. Before this, I was a tech director over at one of the schools here in Region 7, and before that, I was a CTE teacher, and that's where I really met Carl a long time ago, and we were both doing project-based learning, and that's really what drove us into what we do now in digital learning. And so we're excited to just kind of have a platform in which we can talk to you about these kind of things. We're excited that you're here to spend some time with us.
So when you think about the title of the show, we call this The Learning Curve. And the idea behind this is, when we mention technology and digital tools, sometimes people get a little anxious, a little nervous, because it requires some new patterns. We've got to learn how to do new things, and so that's part of the reason why we chose the learning curve. The other reason is just because we want this podcast to really be about learning in general. So even though we'll talk about a lot of digital tools and maybe some innovative strategies, we want the basis of this is that everything is in support of student learning. That's really where we want to focus. And so when we think about digital learning, when we think about digital learning tools, you might have some maybe some trepidation, maybe a little bit of angst or fear that comes along with that, because there's some weight that kind of comes along with that, maybe some expectations that you have or frustrations that you have. And so BJ, when we say digital learning, what are your thoughts about tools? How do we use them? What's the point? Maybe you have some wisdom on that.
I think that's a good question. What is the point? So often there feels like every day there's a different tech tool, there's a different technique, or there's a different extension, or all these kind of things, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. But I think the biggest focus is anytime we talk about digital learning, we want to think about, what is the point? And ultimately, when we're talking about digital learning tools, when we're talking about something that's there, we want to have something that will make something more efficient, make something that will enhance the learning on there. And there's a lot of really cool tools out there that can help us with that. But ultimately, the reason why digital learning ultimately comes down to pedagogy. If there's a great new tool, but it really doesn't help us advance the level of pedagogy that we have in our classroom, or the interactions or the collaboration that we have in the classroom, it's really not worth spending any time on. And so the why behind digital learning for me is really, is this going to matter? Is this going to make a significant impact on the learning of the student in the classroom? I think that's kind of what drives the thought behind digital learning in my eyes.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because pedagogy is so important. And when we think about school, oftentimes we think about, especially as teachers, as former teachers, we think about what am I teaching? How am I communicating this information to my students? But in reality, the point of school is learning. And it's, what can we do to help our students learn? What can we help them? What can we do to help them become more successful, so that when they're no longer in our classroom, they're still making good decisions. They're still become lifelong learners. We want people to be learners for their whole lives. And so I appreciate that. And I love our team, and I love what we're trying to do with this, and that we're not just going, hey, here's the latest gadget to click on, but it's how can we maximize student learning in the classroom.
You kind of mentioned team there, and again, we've got a phenomenal team here at Region 7. What we're most excited about too with this podcast is, we're looking forward to coming out into districts and visit with people that are doing some phenomenal things within our district, and I think this is a great platform to do that with. So we're really excited to see where we go and what all that we'll see. And I know there's a lot of great people out there doing some phenomenal stuff in the classroom, so we want to showcase that on this podcast.
So when we call you and ask you to be on the show, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to this. And this is a really short opening episode. We just want to introduce ourselves and say what the point is and what we're trying to accomplish here, because there are some things that never change. when you think about learning, when you think about education. That first one, it goes back to what we were just talking about, that learning is a lifelong process. That our students, we want them to be lifelong learners, but we want to be lifelong learners. I want to always learn new tools, learn new things. I want to click on new stuff and just see what happens, and that's kind of a tagline that we have in our department, that we're trying to change education one click at a time. That most things are okay to click on, and it's all right. Don't click on attachments from people you don't know. But if it's on the internet or whatever, Google stuff, click on it and just see what happens, because we learn that way.
Yeah.
People are always people. Your students are generally the same as you were. They've got new experiences and new opportunities, maybe, and new tech things to play with. But pretty much people are the exact same.
Well, and kind of with that, and we may be stealing some talking points from some future episodes, but one thing that always strikes me is when we're talking with our teachers and interacting with them, a lot of times they'll say, well, our kids are so tech savvy. And what we've really found out, both in the classroom and then in the role here, it's not that they're tech savvy, it's that they are unafraid of trying.
Yeah.
And so much, I like it. I liken it back to whenever I learned how to type. We were still typing on keyboards or the old typewriters, and like if you messed up, and you had to start again, throw out the paper, get the white marker, ink, and do all that stuff. And so there was a concern, well, if I mess up, I have to redo it. And so we tend to be a lot more hesitant with the technology, whereas they've grown up in a world where they have Control Z, they have undo, and most of the tools now are designed so they can't be broken by the user. And so we give them a lot of credit. We say they're very tech savvy. In reality, they're not afraid to click things. They're not afraid to break things, because they know, hey, if I mess up, I can just hit undo. And we didn't have that when we started our journey in technology, long time ago on there. And so I think just like you're saying, our students are very resourceful. But that doesn't mean that they know more technology than us. They're just more willing to take a chance to click on it.
Right. Which, by the way, if you didn't know how to undo something, Control Z will undo it.
There
There you go. That's your first tech tip in the learning curve. So you got something right there. The other thing that we realize when we're talking about a technology kind of podcast, or a digital learning kind of a podcast, is, and this is the thing that we want to lean into the most, things always change. Something is always changing, and we recognize that. And we recognize that K-12 teachers have to pivot so often because of new curriculum that comes out, or curriculum that's outdated, and we have to adopt a new one, or new learning standards, and that get picked up by the state. And we recognize that, and so we don't want to diminish that, but at the same time, exactly like what you were saying, BJ, we want to lean into, hey, this is an opportunity. It's always an opportunity to do something.
So, like with this, what do you feel like when you hear the words curiosity and creativity? What do you think whenever it involves digital learning?
Yeah, and that's a good question, because especially when we think about artificial intelligence and which we'll talk about as we kind of go through this series, people are really concerned that it's going to take away the creativity of students. Students will never have to think again. And while I recognize that that's a legitimate concern, I think that AI in general, that digital technology, digital tools in general, can actually level up our creativity, because they expose us to more things. And just like going back to when you're saying you learned to type on a typewriter, I had no idea how to use Photoshop or digital photo tools, because they didn't exist. If you were going to edit photos, you had to go in and you were like cutting and pasting and layering things and taking another negative of it. I assume, I don't even know if that's how you did it. But with the advent of some of these tech tools, I think we can actually lean into those and become even more creative and more imaginative. And the things that people are creating and producing right now are astounding. And so I don't think there's anything to fear with that. I think that technology really enables us to level up our creativity game, and certainly with curiosity. All the information that has ever existed is right here, and we have access to it.
I think, I 100% agree with you, and I think curiosity is key. I mean, so much of our students' learning and the learning process is done best when we trigger in their curiosity, when we give them an opportunity to let their curiosity drive their learning. That is huge. And there are so many great tools that can help with that. I think collaboration goes along with both of these. I think that we are, as a society, as a species, we are more creative when we collaborate. We also are able to fuel our curiosity in that way, because I may have a learning gap that you can help provide with that. I can help support you with that, and that drives our curiosity and our learning through that. And so I think that's so key when we talk about digital learning, when we talk about a cool tech tool. At the end of the day, what we're really trying to focus on is, how can we improve these things? How can we improve critical thinking? How can we improve curiosity? How can we improve creativity? And if a tool can't do one of those things or several of those things, then we really shouldn't spend much time on it.
Yeah.
If it can do one or multiples of those things, we should probably spend a lot of time on it. And that's kind of one of the things that will be kind of driving us behind the scenes as to why we might be talking about something or showing something.
Yeah. So we appreciate you joining us on this journey. And like BJ just said, we're not going to focus on a tool just because it's a new tool. We're going to focus on a tool or a strategy because it helps improve learning. And as we go through this, if you've got suggestions, please send them to us. And like I said, like BJ said earlier, we might hit you up to come out to your campus, come out to your district, and just hang out with you and see what cool things that you're doing as well.
So we appreciate you taking some time, spending it with us. We're excited for where we're going with this as we go down the learning curve.
Welcome to the curve, where ideas take flight. Blending tech and teaching, sparking insight. From digital tips to stories untold, we're here to inspire, to break,